Greetings, it's Ian from RTO. Welcome to Monday. Here we go again. First cough of the day. Fully recovered from my trip to Leeds. Oh, busy old day Saturday, but an enjoyable one. Anyway, we're going to start this week off with a viewer's request. And as usual, I can never remember who asked for this, but it's someone asked me to do The Cult, which are a great band. From Bradford, formed in 1983. They first performed under the name Death Cult, which was an evolution of the name of lead vocalist Iain Asprey's previous band, Southern Death Cult. But they decided to go with the name of The Cult. And they're sort of a post-punk gothic band, really big in the mid-80s. Had some success in America. I had quite a few people through the band, but it's Iain Asprey and Billy Duffy that have been there consistently through the history. They have released 11 albums so far. So we'll have a look at these 11 albums. So coming in at number 11 is the 6th album, released in 1994, and it is just called The Cult. So it's Iain Asprey on vocals, acoustic guitars and tambourine. Billy Duffy on the guitar, Craig Adams is on the bass, Scott Garrett on the drums, Bob Rock plays on here as well. We've got some keyboards from Scott Humphrey and percussion Jim McGurney. First track on this one is called Gone. I like this track, it's a little bit different. It's got a really different sort of bass line from Craig Adams. This track was really different for the band and it's not a bad track. Coming down and in brackets, Drug Tongue. This is a strange old track. The guitars are sort of a bit in the background. Then we have Real Grrr. Nice track, but it lacks beef. It needs a little bit more oomph behind it, especially with that bass, which is always one of them signature things of The Cult. Naturally High. It's not the best track on the album, probably one of the weaker ones. It just lacks depth. Best track on here is the next one, Joy. It's got its proper Cult sound, that rich bass, the great vocal for me, and some little keyboard bits in there, not too bad. Then we get Star. It's an okay track. The bass line just isn't there. It needs to have some real grit, and then you know it's The Cult. Sacred Life, I'm not very keen on this one. It's very weak. The bass just doesn't sound right. Be Free. The drums a little bit hollow on this. The sound of The Cult is deep bass, heavy drum sound, and there's none of that on that track. Universal All, it's got a good bass line, it's proper beefy, but it's the drums that let it down. They're too hollow. Emperor's New Horse, great guitar solo from Billy, not too bad. Saints of Dance, I like this song. It's the structure of the song is fine, but it just needs to be a bit more fuller. There are some good songs on this album, I must admit, but I don't think they got the mix right. They're either not enough bass or too hollow drums, and they should be a bit more beefier. So I shall give this one an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 10, we've got the 8th album, Born Into This, released in 2007. Joining Iain and Billy now, we have got Chris Wise on bass, John Tempster on drums. Additional personnel, we've got Mike Dim Kitch on some rhythm guitar and Youth, Martin Glover. Additional bass, and David Knock, additional drums. Okay, the first track is called Born Into This. This has got a great bass line from Chris, and Billy's really got a good riff going there. Good track. Citizens, it's not too bad. At least it's got some of that beef, and it just sounds something like some of their classic sounding tracks. Diamonds. Why do they need a drum machine on it? I don't know. I just don't like rock bands that decide to use drum machines. I just don't like that. Dirty Little Rock Star, the best track on here, reminds me of the early days. That real beefy sound that they got. Iain's vocals are fine on this. Great track. Holy Mountain. Now, I'm not too keen on this. Iain's voice sounds a little bit groggy. I don't know if he'd got a frog in his throat that day, but it just didn't sound right. I Assassin, some great Billy Duffy riffs on this. Oh, I like that track. Illuminated, great opening riffs from Billy. Solid track. Tight in the Sun. Do like that backwards riff at the beginning before Chris comes in on the bass line. Pretty impressive. Savages. This is one of the weaker tracks on the album. It just lacks a little something. Sound of Destruction, another driving riff song. Great vocal from Iain, pretty good. Yeah, nothing wrong with this one. It's got 90% of the album's pretty good. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 9, we go to 2012 now for the 9th album, Choice of Weapon. It's Iain Astbury, Billy Duffy, Chris Wise and John Tempster. Joining them on this one for additional musicians, we have Jamie Edwards on keyboards and strings, Chris Goss on guitars and backing vocals, and AJ Seeley on backing vocals on Hoodie from a Knife. The first track is Hoodie from a Knife. Really good track, great Billy Duffy riffs, some nice drumming on this. It's a solid track, and having them backing vocals from AJ Seeley has helped the track along. Elemental Light, good track. The keyboards is really good. It's a little bit different for them. Iain's on good form on the vocal on that one. The Wolf. Again, now and again Iain's voice gets a little bit groggy, and this one is one of them. But the guitars sort of make up for that. It's pretty good from Billy on that one. Life to Death. I'm not keen on this track. I just don't like it. You can never like every track, can you? For the Animals, again, we've got a great bass line from Chris. Great vocal from Iain. Real good old-fashioned cult song. Amnesia. Again, we've got great riffs. We've got a great bass line. Terrific track. Wilderness Now. One of the gentler tracks, I'd say. It's got some Iain's vocals are a little bit deeper than they used to be, but it's still a good track. Lucifer comes next. It's not too bad. It's just one of them tracks that's on the album. You don't skip it, but you just say, "Oh, I like the next track better," and it is because it's my favourite track. Called A Pale Horse. It's just classic sounding. The Cult, driving riffs, and a great vocal from Iain on that one. The Night in the City Forever is the last track, and yeah, it's just one of them whiny little vocals from Iain that's just not quite right. Once again, the album is very good. Iain's voice is starting to change. You know, we don't expect him to be singing like he did in the 80s, but he didn't hit some of them notes. But on the whole, it's a good, solid album, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 8, we have the 10th album, released in 2016, and it's called Hidden City. So joining Iain and Billy now, John Tempster is on the drums. Additional personnel is Chris Cheney on the bass. Bob Rock plays bass on this. Jamie Mulbarat plays pianos. Don Chase additional drums on Sound and Fury. Dark Energy opens up this one, a really good track. I love the drums on here. Billy. It's great riffs again, and a great vocal for me, and a real strong vocal. No Love Lost. Really good drumming here from John Tempster. Really rich drums like we got in the early days. Some nice guitar touches from Billy. It's another solid track. Dance the Night, one of those commercial sounding songs, a bit boppy, but it's good. Like that one. In Blood. As I said, I do struggle with Iain's vocals at sometimes, and this one just doesn't ring for me. Birds of Paradise, though, is a great track. It's got the rings of the early sound of the Cult. Some great guitar work from Billy on that one. Hinterland, another excellent track. The drumming and the bass sound great on this. Some great licks from Billy. Goat. Ian's voice strained in places, but it's got some killer guitar work from Billy Duffy, so it doesn't spoil it. Deeply Ordered Chaos, a classic sounding start of a Cult track with that nice little tone of guitar from Billy. Really goes back to the old days, that track does. Avalanche of Light, don't mind this. Very early sound as well. Awesome track that is. Lily's quite a mellow track, but some intricate guitar work from Billy. Even Ian's voice sounds good on that. Heathens, the great sound of the Cult, heavy bass, thumping drums, great riffs from Billy, and a great vocal for me, and terrific track. And the last one, Sound and Fury. Ian's voice does sound a bit whiny on that one, but the guitar work is good from Billy as ever. For one of the later albums, it's a pretty decent effort, I think. The last track's a bit woeful, but the rest of the album is pretty good, and it sort of ring bells of early Cult. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 7 is the debut album from 1984, Dreamtime. Iain Astbury, Billy Duffy, Jamie Stewart on the bass, Nigel Preston on the drums, with Mike Elbling on backing vocals on Gimmick. Horse Nation, I do love this track. I love Nigel's drumming on this. Great vocal for me and screeching away. And how he used to, brilliant track. Spirit Walker, that distinctive bass line from Jamie Stewart, accompanied by great riffs from Billy, great guitar, solid track. 83rd Dream, it didn't got the beef that you expect from Cult. It's a little bit lacklustre and it needs some dynamite up its jacksie to get it going. Butterflies, some nice guitar work on here from Billy, but it's Nigel's drumming that really shines on that. Go West, Crazy Spinning Circles. I remember this track being played in 84 on jukeboxes in rock pubs. Whatever rock pub you would go in, this would be on it. I like this. It's got a good beat to it. And my favourite track on here is called Gimmick. Again, one of them tracks that was always being played on jukeboxes. This is the sound that we got to really know about the Cult. That great bass and guitar tone. A Flower in the Desert, another good track. Great vocal for me, and on this one, it's got a real sort of mystique feel to it. Dreamtime, probably the weakest track on the album, the title track. It's just a little bit repetitive. Rider in the Snow. There's a lot of bands that were doing this sound back in 84. It's a bit of the Cure's in there as well. It's got that sound. It's not a bad track at all. Bad Medicine Waltz. It's a good track. You know, the foundations of what was to come. A really good debut album. They hadn't really toned in their sound yet, but you could see it was coming. So it's a really strong album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.1. Okay, coming in at number 6, 7th album from 2001, Beyond Good and Evil. So joining Billy and Iain on here, we have got Matt Sorum on drums, additional Martin Lenoble on bass, and Chris Wise plays bass on some of the tracks as well. So the first track is War the Process. We've got to have one of my favourite starts of a Cult record here. I love the guitar from Billy, and I know that Chris Wise plays on this bass. Excellent track. The Saint, another killer track. Driving riffs from Billy. Vocal for me, and it's really out the top drawer. Really strong song. Rise. This is more like a heavy metal track. It's really good. One of my favourites. Real heavy riffs. The bass on this is absolutely excellent from Chris. Take the Power. Another heavy heart hitting track. Great bass line. Iain sounds great on this. Breathe. Very slow. The start of this is a very slowed down version. It sounds like Seashell Sanctuary. It's that riff but slowed down. Really good. Nico comes now. Great song. Some nice riffs on this. Iain sounds great as well. American Gothic. Another meaty bass line. I like these meaty bass lines from this band. It's a solid track. Ashes and Ghosts. Quite atmospheric. Some great riffs on here. Shape the Sky. Again, I do like the bass line on this. It's heavy. Speed of Light, just another solid track. Great vocal from Iain, and it's got a great guitar solo from Billy on that. True Believers, very solid track. Does what it says on the tin, really. My Bridges Burn, another great rocker to end the album. Good old-fashioned rock music. A great album from top to bottom. Some really good tracks on here. The bass is heavy. It's one of the heaviest albums I think they did. And I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 5, 5th album from 1991. Ceremony, joining Iain and Billy on this. We have got Mickey Curry on drums, Charlie Drayton on the bass, additional keyboards from Richie Zito, Belmont Tench on organ. Backing vocals are supplied by Tommy Funderburk, Scott Thurston a little bit of synthesizer, Susie Katayama on the cello, Alex Acuna on percussion, backing vocals as well from Donny Gerard, Mona Lisa and Yvonne St James. First track is the title track, Ceremony. I love how this builds up. Starts off gentle and then they just add layers, the riffs come through, and I like Iain's vocal on this one. Wild Hearted Sun, what a track, my favourite on here. It's a popular track as well. I love Billy's riffs on that. Earth Mofo is next. Iain's vocal on this is terrific. The highlight though is that bass line, and Billy's riffs fit perfectly around it. White, a little bit different, very gentle, but Iain's just sound good on this. Then we have If, another gentle track, but builds up. It's just a really strong track. Starts off as a nice sort of ballady type thing, but it really builds up into a good rock track. Full Tilt, driving riffs, a great solo. What more do you need from a Cult track? Heart of the Soul, one of my favourite mellow tracks on the record. I like the acoustic guitars on this, and it's a fine vocal from Iain. Bangkok Rhyme. This starts off with like a Black Sabbath style riff and the solo at the beginning. Dirty, mean track. Next track is called Indian, a nice slow song. Not my favourite on the album, I'm afraid. Sweet Salvation, bit of a ballad, but it's got a real great guitar solo on it. Wonderland, interesting song, great bass line, some delicate touches from Billy. Pretty good. Yet another solid album from this band, very consistent. Some great songs on this one as well. So I shall give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, moving into the top 4 now. Coming in at number 4, the 11th album, and it's the most current album released in 2022, and it's called Under the Midnight Sun. So drawing in Iain and Billy on this, we've got Charlie Jones on the electric and upright bass, Ian Matthews on the drums, Damon Fox on grand piano and Fender Rhodes, Tom Daggerty on additional guitar. First track is called Mirror. Wow, what a track. Some great riffs. Ian's voice seems to get is a lot stronger than it was on some of the previous albums. Really good track. A cut inside. Billy's just playing like a man possessed on this. Absolutely killer track. Again, Ian's vocals. I don't know what he had done if he'd took it easy, but they're really strong again. Excellent track. Vendetta X. Oh, this goes back to the glory days. My favourite track on here, and it is the best vocal that Ian's done in years. Absolutely terrific. Give Me Mercy, another great song. It's not so heavy, but it's got some nice keyboard bits in here which adds to it. Out to Heaven, killer guitar solo here from Billy, and Ian's just cracking them vocals out. It's a little bit great. Knife Through the Butterfly Heart. I love this track. I don't know if, what Ian's been doing with his voice in the years, but it just seems to have got stronger, back to its sort of former glory. It's a little bit deeper, but it's still good. Immermance is the next track. A great track. I think this is the sound that they had at their peak. It's really nice. Under the Midnight Sun. This is a little bit different. The strings sound great on here. Some nice guitar work. It's a really nice song to end this excellent album. I think this is the best Cult album since Ceremony in 1991. I was really surprised. Great album. Ian's vocals are back on par to what it was in the good old days, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Now the top 3, there's not much between these 3 albums. These are when they were at their peak for me. So coming in at number 3 is the second album from 1985, Love. It's Ian Astbury, Billy Duffy, Jamie Stewart and Nigel Preston. Additional drumming from Mark Brzezinski, guest drums. Except She Sells Sanctuary. Simon Kinley plays a Fairlight, and the Sultanas are backing vocals. Mae McKenna, Lorenza Johnson and Jackie Chandler. First track on here is Nirvana, classic track. I love this. What a bass line from Jamie Stewart. Cool. Big neon glitter. This has got Mark Brzezinski on the drums, so it's got that very big country drum sound. Excellent track. Love, the title track. Billy's guitar work, good. Strange vocal, but unusual for him, but it works. Brother Wolf, Sister Moon. My favourite track on here, on one of my favourite tracks by the Cult. Definitely gets into my top 10. Just a great track. Rain. This just brings back so many memories of the time. This was a proper British rock band. None of that smooth 80s sound. It was just good hard rocking music. The Phoenix, another great track. Great guitar solo from Billy on that one. Hollow Man, another classic. Brilliant track. Revolution. I like the bass line from Jamie on this. Drives that song along. Another great song with some great drumming. Then we have She Sells Sanctuary. Don't need much introduction on this. Absolutely killer track. Another one of my favourite songs. It's just classic, absolute killer. Black Angel to end the album. Nice gentle melodic rock with a fantastic vocal. for me, and there's no bad tracks on it. It's just classic cult. Every song is good. So I'll give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So coming in at number 2 is the third album, Electric, from 1987. It's Ian Astbury, Billy Duffy and Jamie Stewart. We have now got Les Warner on drums. Wildflower. This has got one of my favourite riffs from Billy Duffy. This track is definitely in my top 10 as well. It's just an absolute killer track from start to finish. Peace Dog. More great riffs. An absolute killer. But then we have my favourite track ever by the Cult, and it's Little Devil. That killer riff from Billy, that bass line from Jamie. Ian's best vocal ever. Absolutely top draw. Aphrodisiac Jacket, my second favourite track on here. Just another killer vocal for me, and he was on fire on this album. Electric Ocean, dominated by Jamie's bass line. Billy's riffs are still coming through great and heavy. Bad Fun, top draw again. The drumming from Les on this is great. King Country Man, again Les's drums are brilliant on here. Throw a great riff in from Billy and you've got classic cult. Love Removal Machine, it's one that I'm not so keen on. It's not as heavy as the others. It's an okay track. And then they do a cover of Born to the Wild. It just doesn't do anything. Although the guitar solo is okay, but it just doesn't fit on this album. Outlaw, classic cult track this is. Les's drumming is great on this. And a real raw and mean vocal for me. And the last track is Memphis Hip Shake, one of my favourite guitar solos of Billy Duffy. Absolute killer. If it weren't for Born to Be Wild and Love Removed Machine, this probably would have been my #1 album, but they just let it down. But it's still, the rest of the tracks are just top draw. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay then, my #1 album, and it just, the music in the 80s was pretty naff when it came to rock music, but this really was great. It's the 4th album from '89 and it's Sonic Temple. Ian, Billy and Jamie, additional personnel. Eric Singer plays drums on here for some of it, and Chris Taylor does, and Mickey Curry. Iggy Pop does some vocals, backing vocals. John Webster's on keyboards, and Bob Buckley arranges the strings. Sun King opens this killer track. One of the best songs on this album. Driving riffs and a fantastic vocal from Ian. Firewoman, it's just got the classic elements of the Cult, the beefy bass line, the driving riffs, and just fantastic vocals from Ian. American Horse, straight off the guitar, brings it in. I do love this track. Edie Chow Baby, love the guitar work on here. It's got some lovely string arrangement here from Bob Buckley. Really enriches that one. What a good track that is. Sweet Soul Sister, the classic, my #2 song ever by the Cult, Beyond Little Devil. Just love this. It's catchy. It's just a brilliant song. Soul Asylum, a long track, fantastic vocals. Ian at his best. Billy doing his guitar work on this is brilliant. Then we have New York City, a great rocker, great vote. You got Iggy Pop doing the backing vocals on it. It's just a real posty punk sort of sounding one, brilliant. Automatic Blues, great bass line from Jamie, one of his best I think. Really drives the song along. Soldier Blue, now this has got Mickey Curry drumming on it. It's brilliant, another killer track. Wake Up Time for Freedom, not as good as the other tracks, but it's still got some beef. It's got a good soul on it, which makes this not a bad track. Number one album, I remember playing this a lot when it came out. I loved the cover, and it was always on this is the time where jukebox had this. Well, just, you could play any track off the albums or all the CDs. It's just a fantastic album. The King Billy pub used to play this album was always on. People would just put track after track. It's just a killer album from the Cult, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.8. There we go, a great rock band, just what the 80s needed, because everyone else was doing smooth rock, not the Cult. It was raw rock, and what a great band. Okay, that's all for this one. We'll be back very shortly with a classic album, and we're going through Motown's albums, and it's what Mojo consider their best, and this one I think is number 8 on their list, and it's Gladys Knight and the Pips and Nitty Gritty. So join me for that. Bye for now.